Greetings YouTubers, this is the Juice 1998 and you're watching Press Start, where we talk about a game's roots and its impact today. In this episode, we are looking at Tetris, yes, the famous Soviet puzzle game that managed to show its many blocky faces in nearly every console imaginable. Let's start off with Russian programmer Alexei Pajitnov, who was working for the Soviet Academy of Sciences. You see, Alexei likes this puzzle game called Pentominoes, a game where you fill a box with different pieces made of 5 squares. With help from Vadim Gerasimov, Dmitry Pavlovsky, and Vladimir Pokyuko, alongside the inclusion of additional concepts like gravity, prototypes of Tetris were made and quickly spreaded to the whole of Europe, and, well, you know the rest. But this spread did have its difficulties during its early years. At the time, Tetris was under a master license agreement with the Soviet government being the holder. Yet, there were several companies which still went around distributing the game on consoles and computers. Eventually, the Soviet government decided to market the rights to Tetris, which led to Atari owning the rights to the arcade version, while Nintendo would have the rights to the console and handheld counterparts. Atari's subsidiary, Tangent, didn't follow the agreement and started distributing its own version of the game to home consoles. This caused Nintendo and Atari to be caught in a lawsuit, Tangent suing Nintendo by claiming rights to distribute Tetris on the NES, and Nintendo for citing infringement of trademark. This eventually ended with Nintendo strictly being the only company that can distribute the game onto home consoles. With that, let's look at the games. The version we'll be looking at mostly is the Game Boy and NES versions, as those are the ones I assume many are used to, and honestly, I really love these versions. Those simple graphics and 8-bit audios are just so atmospheric in a good way, and gives me that enjoyable experience as I imagine how gaming's like in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, I'm not born at that time period, so please don't judge me. So yeah, if you guys do not like the primitive graphics in this video, apologies in advance, but I assure you that won't be the only versions this video have. Okay, to those who have never seen or played a Tetris game before, the concept is really simple. Blocks are falling down the screen, and you must arrange them in lines by moving and rotating them around in this rectangular space. Once you form a line, all blocks in that line vanish, and everything above them falls and replaces them. However, if there are gaps in between the blocks above that row will not fill the gaps and just float there. So take caution before you end up making a row inaccessible. You gain more points for vanishing multiple lines at once, with the maximum number of lines that you can make at once being 4. That's a Tetris. Yeah, here's your tile drop. As you continue playing, the pieces fall faster and faster, and when these pieces reach the top of the area, that's game over. Sweet and simple. There are two common ways to play, Game A and Game B. Game A is the endless mode, which everyone knows and is pretty basic in terms of how it works. Just stack them up and have fun. Game's over when the blocks reach the top of the screen. Game B is a different case. You are given a set quota of lines you have to clear, and relies more on whether you are able to pull doubles, triples, or Tetris. Once the quota is reached, you are booted to the game over screen with your statistics, which follows after an ending cutscene. Yes, I said endings. Pretty sure not many casual players know that. You see, for Game A, whenever you reach a high number of points, the game will show you an aircraft being launched, the size and type depending on how high your score was before getting a game over. For the NES version, you will get the ending once you reach 30,000 points. While for the Game Boy version, it starts off at 100,000 points. For Game B, after completing a stage, you'll get various different endings for different levels and different heights. Special mention to the ending of Stage 9 Hide 5, where there are Nintendo characters putting a show as if to celebrate your achievement. But since I never got to that point, here's a picture of it. So yeah, this is the skeleton of this series. Of course, different games in the series have different variations of the rules. Since we were on the subject, I would like to give mention to the tangent version of Tetris before looking at the other versions. Due to the lawsuit, this version of Tetris was out in stores for a very short period of time, before it got recalled and destroyed. So, if you viewers or your family members happen to own one of these cards, rejoice! That's a collector's item, so cherish it well. In addition, the tangent version of Tetris also had a multiplayer mode which its Nintendo counterpart doesn't have. And on a smaller scale, it also has an intermission period, which is rather entertaining to see. Lastly, you can use the Konami code in this version. Up up, down down, left right, BA start. Whenever you pause a game, just insert the code. Whatever piece that you have right now will automatically be changed to a line piece. Quite handy to get out of sticky situations. But keep in mind, you can only use it every 30 pieces. Now, with that out of the way, let's go with some of Alexei's other Tetris works. First up is Tetris, the first Tetris sequel made. What happens here is that you are now viewing the board from above, guiding the flat 2D blocks to a 3D pit. Here's the thing, it's hard to control the pieces and it's hard to determine whether the pieces will end up wherever you want them to. Here's a question, do you guys hear anything? If the answer is nothing, then good, because there is no sound in this game, unless you want to count this. Anyway, next up is Tetris. True to its namesake, you have hats and you stack them. But it is interesting as you are controlling two pieces at a time and you can control the other piece if one piece is already placed. In addition, you can also switch the stack from one head to another head. So it's a decent game overall. Ending off Alexei's official Tris series is Faces. Tris 3. Odd name, but okay. Like Tetris, you are stacking different parts of faces of people who also include many historical figures to make a complete face. Mind you, you don't need to match the proper features to make a face, so you can have fun mixing and matching them, ending with you looking at your hilarious mashups. In addition, there are also a few Tetris games that Nintendo has published. There is Tetris 2 on NES and Game Boy, where color is being focused into the gameplay, and the goal is to join differently colored blocks next to these colored bombs to eliminate them. Personally, I'm not really good at this game as it's hard to determine whether the block will either go down the bottom of the screen or just stay in midair. If anyone has any tips on the game, please do share it with everyone. There is also Tetris Attack on the Super Nintendo, which has nothing to do with Tetris, but it did start the Puzzle League series, I guess. At least we have that, right? But with the good, there's also the bad, and 3D Tetris is the big one. Mostly due to being released for the giant failure we all know as the Virtual Boy, giving the game horrible controls and terrible graphics, which add up to the game's downfall. Ironically, the game is actually decent if you can get past the controls. Of course, there are many other Tetris games out there, but those will take up a separate video. Even two. I'll get to those at a later day, but not now. Overall, Tetris made a huge name for itself in the gaming world. Despite the original simple premise, it is incredibly addicting as it gives players a rather comfortable starting ground and allows them to improve their skills at their own pace. Of course, there is also the aesthetics. That's right, I'm talking about the soundtrack. We have arrangements of various songs such as Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, a piece from Johann Sebastian Bach, and of course, the one everyone immediately associates with Tetris. In fact, this song, Korobeniki, is so famous that it got remixed in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I mean, that's really something. But we'll talk about Smash Bros. Another day. So, with that said, this is the Juice 1998. See you guys next time.